Hello, Grammy fans, music fans, and Gold Derby viewers and listeners. I am senior editor Daniel Montgomery here with our contributors Charles Bright and Cordell Martin. We are going to talk about the 61st annual Grammy Awards, which aired as we're recording this. They aired last night on Sunday night. We're recording this on Monday. And what surprised me, just as a first general impression, is how good a show it was in terms of the quality of the performances, the quality and interesting, nature of a lot of the winners. So, I mean, let's get started with talking about some of the winners and start with the big one, Album of the Year, which we will talk about for longer than she got to give a speech for it, because they were running long and cut her off. But of course, Casey Musgraves for Golden Hour, which I was proudly predicting, and happy to see she won. Interesting that, they picked a woman, they picked country, which doesn't win that often in the category, but they still didn't go like hip hop in terms of Kendrick Lamar still hasn't won. He's gone now. 4 Album of the Year nominations without a win. So kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other if you're thinking about the progress of the Recording Academy and the Grammys. Charlie, what did you think about that one?
Well, I thought it was great. I thought she was fantastic. I think that it was appropriate because it was country, but it was also an album that celebrated, individuality and inclusivity and, just all around, made you feel good. And God, these days, God, we just want to feel good sometimes when we're listening to music. I mean, I'm all for whatever Radiohead does, but sometimes that's too much for me. So I'm just like, I was really happy for it, and I thought she was a good brand for that. Even though I would have loved to have seen Kendrick Lamar win. I think this expanded field of 8 nominees was actually a quite ingenious move, and I think that she's a worthy recipient because even though it wasn't someone from hip hop, it was a woman, and who the art was good on its own. She also just happens to be a woman, and I think it was just refreshing.
Yeah, it was someone who it was a really good choice in that it's someone who the critics were behind and the industry was behind. Mm-hmm. And, she's not the biggest best-selling artist, although I think she's going to get a big boost now on the Billboard charts from this, which is one of the best things about it, is that more people will be listening to her in general and this album specifically. So it feels like a good choice. It's not like last year. They picked a person of color, but I don't think even people of color weren't excited that Bruno Mars won that Grammy last year. So it feels like this was a really good choice for them. What did you think about it, Cordell?
Yeah, I agree with the both of you guys. I think that Casey Musgraves overall was just the perfect choice in terms of just being a female artist who actually deserved it. They just didn't go the safe route and picked who was the most popular, the biggest seller. They went back to the art and the craft, and I think that really spoke volumes, especially after the comments made by the president of the Recording Academy last year, telling women to step up. And it's like, no, women are here, and they're making a statement. And for her to win, I think that was great. I'm glad the Grammys didn't give the Grammy to Kendrick Lamar, because I felt like out of all of his previous nominated albums, I think it would just been a little cop out just to say, here you go, here's your album of the year, for an album you don't deserve to win, but we just want to shut everyone up that we can award hip hop. So glad that they didn't take the bait, because I was a little nervous that, especially with Childish Gambino's wins, that maybe they might go the route this year and just reward hip hop and shut everyone up for another 20 years. So
yeah, I am a little glad about that too. Like, even though they opened the door to hip hop, they didn't make such a grand. They didn't make it into a seeming gesture. Like, they weren't like, we're just going to give everything to hip hop in kind of a hollow gesture. So it almost makes the Childish Gambino wins more meaningful, since they gave Album of the Year to Casey Musgraves. So it showed that the Grammys still like what they like, but they like hip hop now too. And with more nominees in the category, that might have divided support to the degree that something a little edgier could win in one of these other categories or two of these other categories. And honestly, This Is America for Grammy Record and Song of the Year is downright avant-garde. It's such a wild winner. Even though it ranked second in Gold Derby's predictions, it just, like, looking back at Grammy history, you know, you look at, you know, U2 and Coldplay and Adele and Kings of Leon, and This Is America is on that list now. It's so unusual, but in a really, really gratifying way. So let's switch over to Record and Song of the Year. This Is America, the first hip hop song to win both categories. No hip hop song had ever won either of those. One rap album has won Album of the Year. So now there's been at least rap once in every single general field category. But yeah, I sort of hesitate to call it rap because it's this very, again, as I said, almost this avant-garde amalgam of genres, this one particular song. What did you think about that winning both of these categories, not just for record, but for songwriting, Cordell?
Yeah, I thought it was just a huge turning point in terms of hip hop getting its just due in the general categories. You know, I think Childish Gambino is just one of those artists that I think can relate to so many people in terms of just that audience. Like I think of like Arrested Development, you know, in terms of just having that socially conscious vibe, but still is able to capture a bigger audience. And I think with This Is America, especially with just the visuals, it was able to capture, you know, just the lyrics and the overall message of the song. And yeah, I'm just happy that the Grammys were able to reward hip hop and reward actually a quality song that deserves those honors.
What did you think about it, Charlie?
You know, I was in shock when it won Song of the Year. And in our little messaging thread that we had, I remember you saying that when it won Song of the Year, it felt like something that if it was going to win Song of the Year, it would also win Record of the Year. And part of me was still thinking, okay, Song of the Year, maybe, but Record of the Year, I don't think they're going to do that. And then they did, and it was the most mind-blowing thing. And it's not just that it was hip hop or rap or, you know, avant-garde hip hop or whatever you want to call it. It was this song. It was this song that is known for that video with those visuals. That was not just an embrace of hip hop. That is making a statement. And it is a powerful statement. And I think it is an appropriate statement for the times that we live in. And I was all for it. I really wish he had been there. But actually, I really think he actually got his point across by not being there. And that actually is going to resonate, hopefully, for years to come. Because, and I'm going to piggyback off of that and say, you know, it's great that they recognized hip hop in those two categories now, but it was weird. I actually found myself thinking, wait, I thought the same thing back in 2004 when Outkast won Album of the Year, and yes, the doors really opened for, you know, the nominations, but the wins were not there, and so I think we're really going to see. To truly judge whether or not this is something that is truly, you know, an attitude that sticks around, we're gonna have to wait at least, you know, 5 to 10 years and see, you know, what will continue to manage to win in these general field categories. But I still think, I mean, This Is America winning Record and Song of the Year is just, I think it's out of this world. You put it perfectly, Daniel. The fact that it is joining, you know, the likes of, you know, the list of Love Will Keep Us Together and My Heart Will Go On. You know, This Is America's on that list. And I think that is so awesome.
Yeah, it feels almost like, you know, when you look at like the Tony for Best Musical and suddenly there's Avenue Q. It's like, it's like the things went weird this year in a weird that I appreciate. Yeah, for me, when it won Song of the Year, I was like, it's game over. It's got Record of the Year. Because I thought it's exactly the kind of song that, a little bit like Uptown Funk, that's a song that wins record and maybe not song. And even more so with This Is America, thinking it's a song that's known for the visuals of that video. It's known for the sound of that song, but it's not really particularly thought of that much for the specific lyrical songwriting content. And so I thought, if they're giving it Song of the Year, it's done. It's got Record of the Year in the bag. Actually, my first inkling was in the pre-show, the premiere ceremony. Rap song. I thought, like, it won music video, so I'm like, okay, thanks for coming, Childish Gambino. We'll see you next year. It beats, and I knew it was close, but the fact that he beat Kendrick Lamar in a rap category, that's not nothing. And so when he won that, I thought, like, maybe Record of the Year could happen. I still didn't think Song of the Year there was a chance in hell of that. But then it won song, and it's like, okay, that's a sweep. That one particular song is gonna sweep. Childish Gambino did lose the songwriting award for Feels Like Summer, but This Is America ran the board 4 for 4. And what's interesting, though, what gives me hope for the future is that, unlike in 2004, what we're seeing this year in terms of where the Recording Academy might be headed is that this year the Recording Academy made a lot of changes. And I think the most important ones were expanding the nominations list, so you get this broader array of artists. And I for one have to say, we talk about how, like, sort of sketchy it is to have those, like, nominating committees pick the final nominees. But in terms of engineering this year's awards, if you look at it that way, you couldn't have asked for a better curated list of record, album, and Song of the Year nominees to get to these results. They not only kept, like, Taylor Swift out of there and Ariana Grande out of there, which might have been kind of groaning winners potentially. They also kept Beyonce and Jay-Z out of there, which would have also been another one that would have felt like, okay, they're just giving them a makeup. So they brought in Janelle Monáe, even though they didn't give her enough. They brought in Brandi Carlile, so, like, 2 queer women up for Album of the Year at the same time. It's fantastic. And so just having that, that eclectic brand of an array of nominees that allows for this kind of outcome, I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. I think probably as important, if not more important, what we'll see make the most effect in the future is the new voting members that they invited. The almost 1,000 members they invited last fall. However many accepted those invitations in time, voted this year. However many accepted after a certain cutoff date, they'll be there to vote next year. And so, much like the Motion Picture Academy, they picked 12 Years a Slave. The Academy starts diversifying. Then you get Moonlight. And now potentially Roma, maybe. So I have a good feeling about how this will go, but I agree with you, Charlie, that this is going to be a year-by-year thing where we see if it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 1 step forward, half step back. It'll be very much, in 5 years we'll check back in.
And the other thing that I think is really interesting about this is, they decided to go to 8, which is such a strange number to pick. But part of me is thinking that the Grammy people contacted who does their accounting, Deloitte, and asked to see the breakdown of percentages, and they probably saw, like, okay, what is the average thing that hip hop songs and albums get, and what can level this playing field out. It just seems like they might that it was a very precise move on their part. So I wouldn't be surprised if part of that actually helped some of these wins come off of that last night.
Yeah, and I definitely I would love to see vote totals, because a lot of the analysis of the Grammys is, especially when you get the nominees for Record of the Year, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, since they're the only categories where, all different genres compete against each other, you start to think, okay, is the rock coalition in the Recording Academy going to go here, or country fans are going to go there, or people who work in, R&B are going to go here. And so there was a little bit of that calculus going on in my head. I thought Brandi Carlile was a huge threat because, once she got those nominations, and people started listening to that album as I did belatedly. It's like, that album had, elements of pop, it had rock, it had folk, it had country in it. It had, it's such a blend that I'm like, there's not a single branch other than rap maybe that could not get behind this album. So I thought that had a possibility.
Mhm.
And also they might, maybe that and Casey Musgraves would compete for some votes, and maybe they did. Again, maybe Brandi Carlile came in second, or it's so interesting that that's why when a little off topic, but the Gold Derby Awards, I follow the vote results as they're happening, so I know who's winning right now, but I'm not telling anyone. But it's so fascinating just to see how the votes break down in something like this, that I really do wish, maybe, they should put like a 5-year moratorium or something and just say, okay, after 5 years, we're going to tell you what happened in that year's race in terms of here's how the votes broke down. Or maybe 10 years. Like, I mean, be protective of that. You could keep it under lock and key until people don't really care that much anymore about it. And then tell us also we're all fascinated to know how close.
Or treat it like the Library of Congress. You actually have to go to the Grammy Museum and go to this big domed room, and look at all the records individually,
Oh, I absolutely would do that.
I would too.
I would make that trip. Well, the last general field category, which is the only one that went to pop, interestingly, is when I thought it was actually that this was going to be one that went to R&B, was Best New Artist. Went to Dua Lipa instead of her, literally H-E-R, her. Every time I see her or hear about her, I keep thinking of like the Arrested Development meme.
Yes.
But I haven't been able to use it because she's so good and the meme is very derisive. It's not like her, it's her. I'm very enthusiastic about her. So yeah, Dua Lipa won that, even though she only had 2 nominations. She won both of them. She was also up for dance recording for her song Electricity. Her was nominated 5 times. She was up for Album of the Year, and even when she won R&B album, she was like, "You gave me this award. This is an EP. You gave me an award for an EP." Even though, again, I mentioned this in our chat yesterday. It's like it's 21 tracks long and 72 minutes. You earned it. So, Cordell, what did you think about Dua Lipa winning that award over her?
I would say out of the 4 general field winners, that was probably my least favorite. I don't know, Dua Lipa, I just feel like she's just that run-of-the-mill pop artist. I'm curious to see, with her next album, just to see where she would go in terms of just her artistic development. But for me, I was rooting for her. However, I had flashbacks of like SZA and Jasmine Sullivan, where she's the it R&B artist, and those artists ended up going empty-handed despite receiving several nominations. So I'm glad that her at least took home 2 Grammys. It would have been embarrassing for her to have the Album of the Year and Best New Artist nominations like India Arie and go home empty-handed. But I was rooting for her or Chloe and Halle personally.
How about you, Charlie?
I was rooting for her. I really didn't know that much about her until these nominations, and specifically that performance. And I remember texting you guys during that performance that my jaw was literally on the ground. She blew me away with that performance, and so I was like, "Oh yeah, she's got Best New Artist in the bag." Mm-hmm. But then I actually really liked Dua Lipa's performance with St. Vincent. I thought that was a pretty good performance, and so to see her win, and then when she got that nice little bit of shade thrown in there at Neil Portnow, I was like, you know what, honey, I don't care. You earned this. You earned this, and you do what you want to do.
And she was the last person I would have expected for a kind of a side-eye jab at the Recording Academy from. Because she's the kind of artist who would have done well anyway, like the solo female pop breakout star. Artists like her, as Cordell, you mentioned, do win often. So I was very surprised and gratified that she was the one who said, "Oh, I guess we did step up this year," when talking about how. And then of course the Grammys they cut her off, cut to commercial, come back, and Neil Portnow is there bragging about how the Grammys are less sexist. And I'm like thinking, you would have communicated this better if Dua Lipa had gotten to finish her speech.
And then he got the tribute video too. He got the tribute video, which to me, that was the one that pushed me over the edge. That tribute video of everyone kissing his ass. It was just the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm like, not even Motion Picture Academy presidents have them do this.
Yeah. Oh, and my favorite part of that, though, it was the director trying to find a shot of a woman, in a female artist in the crowd who was not like either indifferent or just not having it. Because they cut to like 4 or 5 different women in the crowd, and they're all looking like,
or they just have this look on their face.
Yeah. It was my favorite moment was, or the director saw that from those camera feeds going like, oh, cut to her. We're gonna get those reaction shots. So that could have been a little bit of directorial shade, which I would approve of. I do think it's interesting. I think actually it's a riskier choice to have picked Dua Lipa than her. I feel like her is the kind of up-and-coming artist who, she's not a huge seller, household name, but she's the kind of artist who I think could be probably relied upon to be artistically consistent. And, since, R&B isn't like a blockbuster field like it used to be, her next few albums, I could see her being a consistent nominee, consistent winner, where Dua Lipa, I mean, pop music is so fickle that are we still going to be thinking about Dua Lipa and hearing from Dua Lipa in 2 years is more of a question mark, I think. So,
or could she possibly her sound possibly take a different direction, and she would be competing in other genre fields, like possibly rock or something
alternative.
Else. Yeah, or alternative. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. She performed with St. Vincent. I could see that absolutely happening. Although I wasn't a huge fan of that performance because I thought that was one of those, they look so much alike that I feel that's why they paired them. Like they had the same hair, they had the same kind of complexion and sort of the same facial features, and so it just felt like you put them together because they look a lot alike. And but I didn't think their songs particularly complemented each other, even though I liked both of the songs individually. So it wasn't a bad performance, but I thought it was just kind of like that one didn't quite mesh as well as I thought it could have. But I do think in hindsight, Dua Lipa would have had more nominations if New Rules had been eligible. It came out too early to be eligible in this Grammy cycle. It's one of those songs that is eligible in one Grammy cycle, and then it really breaks out in the next Grammy cycle. Same thing happened to Camila Cabello. Havana came out a little too early, even though it really peaked in this past eligibility season. So I think if New Rules had been eligible, I'm fairly confident she would have probably gotten those record and song of the year slots that went to the middle, maybe, or maybe bumped out something else. But I felt like she would have been in there. It was a huge hit. The video's been viewed 1 billion times and more on YouTube, and so I think she probably had more support than those 2 nominations indicated, which reminds me a little bit about how Meghan Trainor won a couple of years ago. She won the year after All About That Bass was nominated twice, so she had all that support residually, even though she didn't have any other nominations that year. But going from that to the telecast, what were your highlights of the telecast in terms of the performances, Charlie?
Oh man, there were actually a lot of them this year that I thought just worked and were just great. I thought Casey Musgraves was fantastic. It was simple and beautiful and just hit all the right notes. It was perfect. Janelle Monáe, and to follow that with Janelle Monáe, who rocked that joint. She was insanely good, and I got to really start listening to her music because I really like her. I think she's a fantastic actress, and I know she's a musician, and I just thought she knocked that out of the park. And oh God, when she yelled out, oh, what was it? Let my vagina have a monologue.
Oh yeah, that's on the album.
Oh yeah, when she said that. when she said that, I was just like howling in here. I thought that was so awesome. I love the attitude that she brings to that. I was actually thinking that she, the Grammys are so crazy, that I thought that she could possibly win Album of the Year. I never counted her out for that because the Grammys have done crazy, crazy stuff like that all the time. I like the Dolly Parton tribute. I wasn't with the Dolly Parton tribute at first. I wasn't on board with it, but it was really when Dolly came out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I see what they're doing here," and I was all in for it.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Dolly Parton tribute because that started off really shaky. Like Casey Musgraves was the first out. She sounded great. She has a very compatible style. But then Katy Perry next to her, who God bless her, that was almost as weird as Jennifer Lopez doing the Motown tribute in terms of her voice was not right for the song they gave her. And it just felt like, ooh, I thought that was going to hit a sour note for the whole thing. But no, the rest of it was fantastic.
Yeah, and I would say also Diana Ross I just loved because it was so Diana Ross, and I don't think
Happy
we get
birthday to me.
To me,
I love that so much.
And her birthday, by the way, is 6 weeks away.
Yeah.
Her birthday's 6 weeks away, and I love how. And of course, and that dress. And you were saying, Daniel, during our chat that you were afraid she was going to trip over, as I'm sure everyone in the Staples Center and watching thought she was going to. But remember, I reminded you, it wouldn't be a real Diana Ross performance unless something's going crazy with the fashion or the hair, like the Central Park concert when it was raining and windy, and she's like, "I'm staying here and doing this." I thought that was just perfect. I thought her was amazing. I loved the attitude she brought. How it was just her. God, this is so weird. It was just her at first, and then the others, and then musicians came in. Parent guitar she was playing, that was so cool. I was knocked out by that. There were so many great ones, but those were the ones that really stood out to me.
Yeah, I remember what that came later, and I remember I was telling both of you in chat, it's like, oh, Brandi Carlile's getting started. It's like, she's about to blow the roof off. Just, know, and of course I didn't know exactly what she had planned, but I know her, vocal range. I know that she sounds as good live as she does on record because I've heard her perform on other like talk shows and stuff like that before. So like I knew she was about to bring it, and then I was so happy to be right. And then she actually won our poll, like for the best performances at Gold Derby, which is just fantastic because like she had to fight against Lady Gaga stands, which is like
yes.
like you won over the Lady Gaga stands, then you did something special. So that was my highlight of the night. I thought that was just, and I really appreciated, like the best performances are usually the simplest ones. It's like, don't try too hard, let the singing do the work, let the song do the work. That's why some stuff where it felt like they were trying a little too hard, like the opening number was good, but I thought there was a little bit too much going on. Miley Cyrus and Shawn Mendes felt a little forced, like they're trying to make a Grammy moment, which I hate those things. But when you have like a really dynamite artist, especially a dynamite artist that people don't necessarily know, like universally, like her, like Brandi Carlile, and this is going to be them doing what they know how to do, like rolling out of bed, but like we don't know how good they are. It's so extraordinary. What were your favorites, Cordell?
Yeah, just to echo both of you guys, I just thought overall the women definitely just proved, why they kicked butt this year in music. I mean, you had veterans like Diana Ross and Dolly Parton who paved the way for a lot of those female artists to still grace the stage and command the audience. You had established stars like Alicia Keys and Lady Gaga, still showing that they have what it takes. And then you have those up and coming artists like Casey Musgrave, Chloe and Halle, her, Janelle Monáe, just really showing that, the artists that they are and the respect that they have amongst the industry. I thought that was just great to see. One thing as a long-term Grammy fan is that I just love when those under the radar artists have their moment to really showcase their talent. Like, I know we were chatting just about performances like Ricky Martin when he first came onto the scene, or Mary J. Blige, No More Drama performance. Like, those are those moments that you remember as a Grammy viewer. And it was beautiful just to see a lot of those artists have their moments, because oftentimes, you know, producers get caught up in getting the Taylor Swifts or the Beyoncés or, you know, the Kendrick Lamars to, you know, showcase their shows. But if it's about the music, showcase those artists that really bring the passion to their craft. So, yeah.
And even Kendrick Lamar wasn't Kendrick Lamar until, like, I mean, you know, he was already a critical darling, but one of the rare Grammy moments that really took off way better than it had any right to, when he performed with Imagine Dragons, one of his first years, it was just like everyone sat up. It was like, you know, because I think everyone by then knew Radioactive by Imagine Dragons. And so, you know, Kendrick Lamar was really the X factor in that performance that added something that people were not expecting and that they did not see coming. And you're right, Ricky Martin owes his crossover career to the Grammys. That Grammy performance made his career, because Livin' La Vida Loca was like a year or a few months or a year after that. It really was building off of that moment at the Grammys. So yeah, that's, you know, people, you know, talk down about the Grammys a lot, and a lot of times deservedly so. But there are moments when, and I think this year they did it really well, again, by curating those nominees for Record Album of Song of the Year, where you got those moments where, you know, yes, Janelle Monáe didn't get her due, I don't think, in the nomination, but she got the Album of the Year nomination, which means she got the platform and she got the performance and she made the most of it. And I want to see her, like, moving up on the Billboard charts again. And, you know, she still doesn't have a single Grammy. It's so insane to me. But yeah, just having those moments. I want to see what the next year or two looks like for Brandi Carlile and her, and you know, even like Camila Cabello. She was, you know, already well on the way to establishing herself, but, you know, she had this, you know, moment at the beginning of the show where she got to be in that large group of Latin artists, to be a part of that tradition now coming up. Even though, you know, her music is more pop, I would say, than you know, specifically Latin in the style of her music. But yeah, it's really exciting to see where these people can go. Like, Taylor Swift does not need to give another Grammy performance to sell 1 million records next, you know, her next album. She, you know, God bless Beyonce. Beyonce always does something really genuinely fantastic when she takes the stage, because she always tries to one up herself, and she usually succeeds. But again, she's not one who needs it. Like, she doesn't need that platform to become who she already is. So when the Grammys can say, you know, look at these people, this is the class of the field, even if you don't know it yet, here, find out. And that's one of my favorite things about the Grammys. And, you know, speaking of an established artist, Cordell, you mentioned Alicia Keys, who hosted the show. She performed this medley that seemed to come out of nowhere, that I thought was going to be just like, why is she singing all these random songs right now? But turned out to be fantastic. Like, she can literally sing every song that has ever been recorded, and probably some that were, like, etched in cave walls by Neanderthals. Like, I thought she was such a surprisingly good host, because I thought she was going to, like, really just take a kind of a back seat, because she's not, like, an experienced award show host, obviously. So I thought she would take really a back seat, just kind of keep it moving. But she really did get involved in the show, in terms of, you know, performing and in terms of interacting with other artists. And, you know, she didn't try to do any bits, but that's not who she is. And so I'm glad that they didn't try to write her as a comedian or anything like that, which is very gratifying. What did you think about the hosting, Charlie?
Well, I was worried at first, because I thought, my worries were, you know, that either they would try to make her, you know, do like comedy bits or something, but I was also afraid that it would also just be too much of, like, her gushing about what she liked, and sometimes even that can rub off the wrong way.
But yeah, especially for 4 hours.
Yeah, but she actually struck just the right tone with it, and again, that performance, that piano performance, with one hand on each piano. Oh my God, that was just like, that reminded me of when I first saw Alicia Keys, the Falling music video. That's what it reminded me of, going, like, when I first saw that, going, oh my God, who is this person? She's unbelievable. And you know, just I loved having that surge feeling, you know, of awe about her again. I think she just knocked it out of the park. She just was the right fit for that. And hopefully the Grammys will continue. Maybe I would be, it'd be great if it was with her, but with someone who can strike that right tone.
Like maybe her.
Her, possibly, yeah.
I love, because it's not going to come, like, one of the difficulties with an artist like that is, like, if you're using her proper name or a pronoun, it's very difficult to tell in just casual speech.
And then it turns into an Abbott and Costello routine.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Oh, wasn't it that band Him also at some point? Or His?
Remembering that one.
There's probably. I might be misremembering. What did you think about her, Cordell?
Yeah, I thought Alicia Keys did a solid job. I thought also I didn't know what to expect. I was like, either she's gonna try to, you know, do some comedy bits or sing "Girl on Fire," which is one of her worst songs. I love you. Please never sing that again. But I thought, you know, she just had the right tone, and then you could tell that she just loves to champion for other artists. And that was just evident with the opening bit with, you know, J-Lo and Jada Pinkett and Michelle Obama and Lady Gaga, just to showcase them and, you know, what music means to them, to just incorporating, you know, herself into like the Motown tribute and of course her solo performance. I thought she really set the tone and, you know, didn't drag the show on. It was just like, okay, I'm going to say my bit, move on, let's keep it moving. So,
and that's
okay.
Oh, I was just, that's been a problem with some of their other hosts. You know, past 2 years we've had James Corden, and the bits in there have felt so in there. Someone like, you know, they tried to do this with LL Cool J, but really he just felt more like a narrator during it. Yeah, like he's narrating a documentary about the Grammys throughout the ceremony. So
and he did have a little bit of that gushing problem too, LL Cool J.
And so I was just, and so that I was, you know, that's, you know, based on those previous experiences, I was, you know, like genuinely nervous. And but yeah, I think she nailed it.
And I will say one thing that Alicia Keys did that made me think, okay, she had the exact magic touch that this show needed. She made John Mayer incredibly likable. Nothing against John Mayer as an artist, but he has had PR issues for years.
Yeah.
He comes out to do this thing where they're reminiscing about how they're both up for Song of the Year, which could have been this obnoxious champagne problems thing. Remember that year you beat me for Song of the Year, even though I already won it 2 years before? So it could have been incredibly obnoxious, but it ended up being incredibly sweet. And so they both came off so well in that moment. And then it was such a beautiful segment because I wasn't actually expecting them to present an award just then. And then they segued to presenting Song of the Year to the next winner, which that was such a beautiful, beautiful moment. And I think, you know, John Mayer needs to do a collaboration with Alicia Keys immediately because she is walking career rehab.
They actually have a song together on Alicia Keys' As I Am album.
Oh, that's right. I think I remember that. They need to do another one. Or do like an entire joint album like Alison Krauss, Robert Plant style. Actually, remake that album with Alicia Keys and John Mayer.
Album of the Year.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, Alicia Keys has not won Album of the Year, so that'll give her a shot at that one.
She's not the Record of the Year either.
No. She or obviously no. She did win Best New Artist. I was thinking like she was snubbed for Album of the Year the year she won Best New Artist. Yeah, so she has half of them. That's pretty good, honestly. In a career like you have 15 Grammys and 2 of them are in the general field. That's pretty good. You can't win them. So, any closing thoughts about the Grammys? Start with you, Cordell.
Oh, overall, in terms of just the winners, I thought this was a great crop of winners. I love that there was a lot of first-time winners, especially in the rap field and the R&B field, which is refreshing because it just gets so stale when you see Kendrick winning all the time, and then Jay-Z and Beyonce. So it was great just to see like Ella May win, her, Daniel Caesar, Leon Bridges, Anderson .Paak, just to name a few. So that definitely was refreshing to see those new winners get their just due.
How about you, Charlie?
I just want to say I liked the In Memoriam tribute. I liked that they recognized Russ Solomon, the founder of Tower Records. I thought that was a pretty cool thing. And also, I just realized this: Clarence Fountain passed away from the Blind Boys of Alabama. I had just seen them a couple months ago. I had no idea that he had passed away, and so I'm glad that they included him. And they included a bit of his vocals from one of my favorite songs of theirs, "People Get Ready."
Yeah.
Oh, that is such a that is the first song I ever heard of theirs. And I remember I was just like, all right, I'm in for them. I'm all in for them. And so I love that they included that. And I just, the only thing I would say is, you know what? If they're running long, just let them finish their speeches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, it's not like, it's not like it's not like it's taking away anymore. Just let them finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's already almost 4 hours long. It's like an extra 20 seconds for Dua Lipa, an extra 30 seconds for Casey Musgraves is like, no one's going to care. Like, they're going to care that you cut it off. And if people are upset that you're running long, they're not going to blame Dua Lipa because she wasn't talking too much. And, Casey, she won Album of the Year and she barely got half a word out. It was a bad look to cut off Drake, given what he was saying about the awards in general. And he was very diplomatic in terms of, he wasn't saying, screw the Grammys, but he was saying, if you're an artist out there and you haven't won a Grammy, but, people are coming to see you and people are listening to your music and you've already won, you don't need this. But so I thought it was a very diplomatic tone to take, especially for someone who has been very ambivalent about the 4 Grammys that he has won. Like, he even said when he got on stage, this is the first time I've been holding one of these where I felt like myself. And so he, and a lot of hip hop, like Childish Gambino wasn't there, and we've seen Frank Ocean take his name out, and so we've seen this, and it's that needs to get its platform too, because Drake has earned the right, and hip hop artists have earned the right to say things like that on the air on the Grammy stage. And I don't know if like someone in the thing in the booth was saying, "Oh, he's criticizing awards. We need to cut him off." It was a bad, like, I think it might have seemed to them like he was done, and then he picked up a second or two later. But the optics were just terrible. So I do think they need to clean up some of those sorts of issues, like just err on the side of going long. The Oscars are getting no shortage of criticism, much deserved, for trying to whittle down their telecast by.
And the Grammys are already slated. They're already slated to go until 11:30 now.
Yeah.
I think they've started that. They started that a couple of years ago. So they're already bumping the local news. So they might as well just book it up till midnight. And if it finishes early, they should do that. And if it finishes 15 minutes early, they go, "Hey, look what we did!"
Oh, it's exactly. It's under promise, over deliver. So say we're gonna be 4 hours, and then come in at 3:45. Everyone's like, "Oh, early night."
My other gripe was when they did a special performance for Donny Hathaway. I just thought it was a little tacky to have his daughter in the audience, who was the nominee, not perform her father's song. So that was my other gripe, that it would have been great for Layla just to honor her father. So.
Yeah, I thought that was a missed opportunity. There were a couple of those tributes that seemed odd that they didn't have a little bit more meat on their bones. Especially since the Dolly Parton one was so great.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like they had like 5 different artists doing 4, 5, 6 different songs of hers. And then to see like, you know, Aretha gets one song and Donny Hathaway gets one song. And,
yeah.
it would have been nice to see, but again, it's decisions that I think should be made in advance a little bit better on a show that's already so overwhelmingly packed. So I'll give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, especially because so much of the night was good. I don't want to harp on too much of the bad, just a little bit of the bad. So with that, thank you, Cordell and Charlie, for joining me tonight to discuss the Grammys. Thank you for joining me on Sunday night to discuss the Grammys and complain about the Grammys and shockingly praise the Grammys. It has been an uncharacteristic pleasure. Not you two, the Grammys. So thank you, and thank everyone for watching and listening. We will see you again certainly next year.